Hey everybody, how's it going? I am here to talk about Pinterest marketing with you and to develop a strategy. So if you're here, drop a comment or a question down below, then I know that you're here. I can get to those questions and comments towards the end or maybe at any time, whatever works best for you. But definitely drop it down below so that we can get your questions answered. This is open to everybody. So please join us. If you are watching this now, share it with your friends so that they can benefit from some things that they can learn today. So this is all about developing a Pinterest marketing strategy. And I'm really excited to share this because there's a little bit more to think about in strategy. And strategy is one of the things that I love to do. I love to think about it basically, and then try to experiment with different strategies. So I'm always thinking about different angles or different strategies and testing to see if there's some kind of results that come from those strategies. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun to do. I encourage you to sit and think through strategies as well. If you've got a strategy that you have developed for yourself that's working well, feel free to share it down below because that's awesome. The more people that share their strategies, they share what they're doing that works well, the more that everyone can benefit in a way. And it kind of takes some of the mystery out of it. A lot of people feel like, Pinterest is mysterious, or they feel like marketing is mysterious in general, but it really isn't. It's a very, very simple. And you have to take all of that complicated stuff and put it into a simple strategy. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to take action on it. You're going to feel stuck. So you've got to take everything that you've been learning or working on or reading somewhere, and you need to put all of that down into simple words on paper and create a strategy for yourself. And the strategy may be very, very simple, surprisingly simple. And you may think, well, that can't be right. I must not be doing something right because it's not complicated enough. The truth is, yes, you are doing something right because most things are not that complicated. We just make them more complicated than what they need to be. So if it turns out to be a very simple strategy for you to try, then you're probably on the right track. And that's true for everything that you're doing in e-commerce or in sales or whatever it is. If you're in a brick and mortar store, if you're in e-commerce, it's the same principle. Is you need to break it down into the simplest actions. And when you do that, when you simplify things, you're more likely to take action on it because it makes sense. It's very simple to put into place. So let go of the mindset that everything has to be complicated in order for it to work. Usually it's the opposite, is things need to be simplified in order for you to take action on it, and then you'll see some results. Okay, so don't overcomplicate things whenever you're trying to create a strategy for yourself with whatever you're working on. Okay, so that's just kind of the general basics of strategy. Hey, Nancy, she's here from down south where it's nice and warm. And Sue is here. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Anybody else, if you're here, drop it down below and join in. We're talking about strategy, and probably if you were to think about one of the most important areas of your business, strategy is very, very important. That you need to take time away from your business. You need to take an hour, maybe 2 hours. You might have to go to a coffee shop or somewhere else, get a different environment where you can just think and make it kind of your uninterrupted time, where you can just have time to think, get a piece of paper out where you can write. Or if you want to draw, doodle, do some mind mapping, do it in creative ways for however works best for you. So if you are a person who is more analytical, it's going to be best for you to maybe strategize with an Excel spreadsheet. And that works awesome for you because that's what helps you to think better. If you are more of a creative type person, it may be best for you to strategize in a way that gives you lots of visuals. So it could be drawing on paper. It could be using color, where things make sense to you if you use colored pencils or markers. That's important. That's important for you to do things in that way. If you're kind of in the middle, it may be simply writing out a list, just writing bullet points of thoughts, getting it down on paper. And then you basically take all of those thoughts and you simplify it down into actionable steps. And that's your strategy. So there's no right or wrong way of doing this, but you really need to understand what works best for you and how you operate, because every single person operates differently. I will guarantee that. I see it every single day. I've done a lot of years of teaching, and I've done most of what the teaching that I've done has been one-on-one, which has been wonderful because I can really tune into that person and get a sense and a feel of how they think, how they operate. And you have to go from that angle in order to be able to find some solutions to some problems. So to be able to creatively think a little bit about what's going to work best for that person. And I've seen this through a lot of years, and we're all different. So don't be afraid of doing it the way that you like. And the way that you like is different from the way that anybody else likes. And that is great. That's awesome. So with this strategy, let's think about a little deeper of some strategies that I'm kind of excited to talk about today. So one strategy that works well, that I have seen great results from, and I've been doing this with results here lately with one of my clients, is very simple: create multiple pins. Okay. It's a simple concept, but it works. And I encourage you to do that. So whenever you are really wanting to promote something very heavily that you have, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a product that you're selling, that you have. It could be a service that you offer. It could be a blog post that has links to it for your affiliate. Maybe it's affiliate products, or it could be a course that you've created and you want to link that into a blog post, or it could be a course you've created on its own. Any kind of website page, it doesn't matter what it is or where it's at, where the location is. The important thing is that you have a URL link to link to the pin. That's all that matters. Okay. Now, if you're really wanting to promote this heavily and drive a lot of traffic to that page, then consider creating multiple pins. Creating more than one pin that uses the same URL link. All right, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And that is a very high level strategy that a lot of people do, and they see very, very successful results. So let's think about, how can we do this? Well, there's things that you want to change within your pin. So you might want to change out the text. Okay, that's called the text overlay. And you may want to change the text overlay on the pin. You can change the colors on the pin. It could be the background color if you want. Let's just define it further. And you might want to take notes as you're going along, because this is going to be really great stuff. So the text overlay might be the background color that you want to change. It could be the font of the text used in the text overlay. Okay, so it's the font that is used in the text overlay. Maybe you used an Arial font in one pin and you want to use a different font in a different pin. So when we're talking about the text overlay, what you're changing, I would actually change the words completely. for the first one. So if you're saying, maybe it's a blog post about that you've written, or maybe it's a product that is a t-shirt that you're selling, and this t-shirt is about maybe it's about Mother's Day. Okay, so it's a Mother's Day t-shirt, for example. You could use the text overlay on one pin that says Mother's Day t-shirt. The text overlay on another pin could say Mother's Day gift idea. The text overlay on the third pin could be different, and it could say what else can we do? Mother's Day. I would still probably want to keep Mother's Day. You could, instead of saying maybe Mother's Day, you could say a mom t-shirt, or you could say gift for moms, mom gift idea. And I probably would want to keep t-shirt on some of the pins. You could take it off of the pins and use the word gift instead. The word idea works really well on Pinterest. That grabs a lot of people because it's used in a lot of different ways. They always like to type in the word idea often. But I think you understand the idea that you can change the text so that it says something different on every pin. And that really helps you. The background color you can change. Some of your pins may be no background color. Some of your pins may be pink background color. One could be yellow, one can be blue, what can be whatever. And what you're doing is you're testing out different colors to see what will work. The font itself does make a difference because font does evoke emotion. So the font may be something that you want to experiment with and say, okay, I create on this pin, I did a font that is a scroll font so that it looks more feminine. And on the next pin, I'm going to do a different type of font that is not as feminine looking, and we'll see what happens. You might see a higher click-through rate on the scroll font than what you would the other font. However, that may not be true because depending on what type of scroll font that you use, it could be too hard to read. So you always have to keep that in mind too. Make sure no matter what font that you use, it's easy enough for the person to read so they understand what they're looking at. So you can change the words, you can change the background color of the pin, you can change the actual font of the pin. You can change the text font color itself. So if the words that you're using on top of your pin is a red color, maybe next time you want to try pink and see what happens. See, there's endless possibilities here. You can change the images on the pin of your product. You can put them in a different order. If you have one image on one pin, maybe you need to do 2 images on the second pin. Maybe you need to do 5 images on one pin. And you're getting a better idea of what's working for you and what's not. So you can see that there's lots of different things that you can do here to think about what can I do for creating multiple pins? What are some changes that I can make on that I could put out onto each pin? So you don't need to change everything, but at least change one thing. At least change so it looks different. And if you keep everything that you make inside of Canva as a template, then all you have to do is just make a copy of it, and then you can begin to make the changes very fast, where it only takes you maybe 5 minutes. And now you have a whole nother set of pins. So what I do is create 5 pins for each product for each URL link. And I have an assistant, a VA, that helps me with this. And we do on average about 5 pins. Sometimes it can be more than that depending on the situation, but on average, we start with about 5 pins for every single product, website, page, blog post. That's the strategy that we are now using. And this is what we offer with our services. For those that need help creating pins or don't have the time, we do have a service where we can offer that for you. And it's called the Pin Factory. So if you're interested in that, let me know. You can definitely leave a comment about that, or contact me through a private message or something, or you can email me at pintrafficpower@gmail.com if you are interested in those services where we can do that for you. And I would create on average about 5 pins per website, page, product, service, whatever it is that you're offering. And you can do that so easy. It takes you, 5 minutes to take one pin, copy it, change something on it, copy that one, change something on it, copy that one. You can do that all inside of Canva. Once you get to 5 pins, you get that all scheduled out. Okay, I like to use Tailwind. It's awesome for scheduling because you can schedule way out into the future. Another thing that you can do with that is you can later on, let's say 3 months down the road, you say, okay, I think I need to go back and promote that again. I want to do more with that. I really want to kick it up a notch. Or you could write down what is your most profitable product or service or blog post or page, whatever it is. What is the most profitable thing that is working for you right now? I mean, you're really seeing the sales pick up. Then what you do is you write down every month, you go in and you create fresh pins. You go into your Canva account or whatever it is that you're using, and you dig up that set of 5 pins that you created last month, and that is your template. You make a copy of it, and now you start changing a few things on those pins, and you have 5 new pins in 10 minutes or less. Those are going to be your 5 pins for that month that you can promote. That same page, that same whatever it is, URL link. And what it appears to everyone is fresh, new content that is on Pinterest. Very fresh stuff. With that being said, when they do click through your pin, make sure that where they're headed to is doing well. Okay, so if on the other side of that pin, that product, wherever it's at, or a blog post needs to be set up in a way where it's going to convert well into sales. So this side of it that we're talking about today is developing a Pinterest marketing strategy. What this accomplishes is driving traffic well to wherever it's heading. But you do need, your responsibility is to make sure that the blog post, the website page, the product page, the service, whatever it is that you're offering, that page itself has excellent copyright material. I mean, you've got good copywriting skills. You are able to talk to your audience in a way to help them understand why they need the product, how it serves people, how it helps them. You need to have that well in that page, or else you can drive traffic to it all day long and no one's going to buy. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. So there is no guarantee that using Pinterest as a strategy in your marketing plan is going to increase your sales. Why? Because you need to do the third step, which is make sure where it's headed to, that is ready to go. And you need to make adjustments to it on a regular basis. Update it, make it fresh regularly. Make sure if you are using affiliate links that you test those affiliate links on a regular basis so that they're not dead links. So really think about that as well. Okay, let's continue on with the marketing side of Pinterest, the driving traffic part. And you can think later about the actual product page, making sure that it's in good shape and you keep that maintained on a regular basis. The part that I'm really excited to talk to you about is a group board strategy. So group boards can be a tricky territory. We've talked about that in the past because not all group boards are great, and you only want to join the group boards that are high quality pins, really great content, no spammers. Okay, so by spamming, I'm not talking about a product being featured in a pin. That's not considered spam because that's probably the majority of Pinterest. That stuff is okay, it's welcomed. What I talk about as spam is what Pinterest defines as spam is those links are going to places where it doesn't have anything to do with the pin. So that's why you've got to be very careful with what you put on your pin, that it's real clear what is on the other side of that pin when they click through. Because if you don't, you could be marked as a spammer. So if you sell a product, you do need to, I would put a picture of your product right on the front of that pin. That serves as like a mini website page or a mini blog post or a mini version of your product page. Okay. It's like they're going to open up the door and walk into your store. And you need to give them a sense of feel of what it's going to be like if they walk into your store or walk into your home, walk into whatever it is that they're headed towards. That's what you need to think of. So with the group boards, make sure that you are joining group boards that are high quality, or if you have a group board, that you regularly police it to make sure that you don't have a lot of spam links in there. Make sure that it's relevant content to your group board. Otherwise, it doesn't really serve a purpose that really helps in a way. It can actually hurt against you. So be very careful with group boards. You will find that as your Pinterest presence develops and increases, you're going to have more people asking you to join their group boards. And I see this a lot. I get quite a few messages about that. So you need to check your messages inside of Pinterest. And I would say the majority of them that I receive, I ignore. I turn away and I say no, because they don't have anything to do with what my business is about. So if I'm in the music niche area, I'm not going to join a group board that is all about chickens, or farming, because I don't have anything to contribute. That's not the topic or the focus of that Pinterest business account. So those I'm going to ignore and say no to. And you may say, well, why in the world would somebody invite you into that? Well, they just want people inside of their board. They don't care. They don't check out your profile. They haven't gotten to know you. They don't know what you do or what you offer. They're just inviting you. And that doesn't mean that you need to say yes, because it might be wise to say no, that's just not going to work for that group board. So the strategy for the group board is this. If you do get invited to an awesome group board, or you've been able to successfully have your own group board and manage it well, there's a strategy here that you can do. Okay. So one of them, of course, is to create multiple pins. And with that, you can create all of these multiple pins here, but what you need to do is you need to read the rules of the group board and think about, what do the rules say on the group board? Because if you're joining a group board, you have to go by their rules and get an idea of what you can and cannot do. All right. And sometimes the rules might be hard to understand or vague, so you might need to contact the owner of that group board and get clarity and say, can I do this? Can I do that? You might have to do that so that you don't risk being kicked out of that group board, especially if it's a really good one that is bringing a lot of traffic to your pins. You don't want to let go of that. So read the rules of the group board. So for example, the group board that you're in may be an awesome group board. I've been invited to a few that are really awesome group boards, and I don't want to risk anything of losing that. So by reading the rules, it could say that you are allowed to put in one pin per month. All right, one pin per month in that group board. One pin that is the same pin per month. In other words, they don't want you to pin the same pin into that group board any more often than one time per month, is what it could say in the rules. So there's going to be, you can't put in a duplicate pin. Let's make it more clear. You cannot pin a duplicate pin more than one time per month. All right, so you create one pin and you've got 5 pins that you've created total. That means that you can pin one pin into that group board one time per month. So for the month of March, you can put in pin number 1. In February, then you would be allowed to put in pin number 1 again into that group board. You would be able to do the same the next month, the next month, and the next month, okay? That alone does increase your presence of how many people see your pins. But let's take it a step further. And this is where you need to do some deep thinking on your marketing strategy. You've created 5 pins. All 5 pins look completely different from each other. By taking that extra effort to create 5 different looking pins, it doesn't matter that it goes to the same URL link. Now you have 5 completely different pins. There are no duplicates. You can now put in 5 pins per month that all go to the same page, the same product inside of that group board. That's pretty awesome. You could do it the next month, the next month, and the next month. This is why having a scheduling tool is really beneficial to you, because you can set that up so that March, I've got my 5 pins going to a group board. April, those same 5 pins are going to go to the group board, and you keep going. So that's how you do that. And that's how you can still apply to the rules of what it says for that group board, but yet really leverage it more than what you're probably doing right now, right? So this is huge. This is why I was telling you that this is huge marketing strategy. You've got to really tune in. I hope you're taking notes. This is the stuff that we cover a lot in with a Pinterest for e-marketing course, or I'm sorry, the Pinterest for e-commerce course. So if you want to join us in the course. I'm always creating strategies and plans, and I share a lot of stuff within my journey of what works and new ideas, fresh things that I'm coming up with. But if you need the basics of the course itself, step by step of how to even get started, definitely join the course, because it's going to help you get going. Okay. And when you're ready, you're able to take on some higher level approaches and strategies, like, similar to what we're talking today. So with a group board strategy, read the rules and then develop a strategy plan for yourself. Same thing with Tailwind. And talking about a Tailwind tribe strategy, not just Tailwind in general, but now that the tribes are open to everyone to use, develop a Tailwind tribe strategy. Again, you need to read the rules again and find out what you can and cannot do within that tribe. So does it say that you can only put the pin in one time, and how often? Maybe it's one time period and there's no duplicates. Okay, cool. That means that you can create as many different looking pins as you want, and you can keep putting them into that tribe. It's going to link back to your same product, your same page, and you're just really focused on getting that one product to have massive amounts of traffic. And this is your strategy. So you take your best-selling item and you put massive traffic towards it. That's going to help you get more leverage than if you were to take one pin for each product and you just do all of that and you've got like 1,000 products out there. Because in the e-commerce world, everyone does have lots of products, tons of products. And that's what you do. Well, that one little pin may not be enough to really hit that product, because not everyone may respond to that pin. It may not take off. So if you want to ensure that you're going to drive massive traffic to your product, to your blog post, to your service, whatever it is that you're offering or selling, you need multiple pins. For sure. You need multiple pins. And you can create a strategy plan for yourself with your foundational boards, but then create a different strategy for your group board and another strategy for each of your Tailwind tribes, because all of the tribes are different. You have to read the rules of what is allowed and not allowed. Now, I'm finding with a lot of the Tailwind tribes, it's a little bit different. They really don't, in general, so far what I'm seeing is they don't really like duplicate pins, meaning they don't want you to put the same looking pin in. We could call it pin number 1, that same pin in more than one time in the tribe, because they just keep coming across the same one over and over again, and people get tired of pinning the same pin looking pin. So there you need to have a different strategy, which would be create more different looking pins using slight changes, and you could do that every single month. So you create a calendar for yourself and you say, you know what, I'm really going to ramp this up and I'm going to leverage the tribes as far as I possibly can. And I'm going to create 10 pins every single month that goes to one product. And those 10 pins look different, and you save your template and you redo your template over again, make it look fresh, make it look new. You could do certain things for holidays and seasons where it can look completely different pin. And you do that and you've got 10 fresh pins to add to all of your Tailwind tribes, because you're allowed 5 Tailwind tribes, which is awesome. That comes with Tailwind. You can put in 5 into your Tailwind tribes, and, or I'm sorry, 10, all 10 that you do every single month in your Tailwind tribes. That's now your new strategy that you can leverage. So you want to make sure that you are joining Tailwind tribes that are really valuable to you. The ones where the people are active, they are sharing pins that are awesome looking so that you can pin out their stuff too, and they're going to pin yours. And I don't care if other people have pins where they've got 10 different looking pins that all go to the same URL. That really doesn't matter. That's not really important. What I care about is that the pin looks awesome and great. Oh my goodness. I don't know what's going on with my computer. That's what I care about the most. So I will pin out 10 different looking pins of someone else's, and I don't care if it goes to the same URL link. That doesn't matter. They all look like 10 completely different things, and the pins are very high quality. They're engaging. That's what I care about the most with what the pin is. The URL link, as long as it's not a spam link where it's going to something completely different from what the pin says, then we're okay. We're good. All right, so that's what you can do for a group board strategy and with a Tailwind tribe strategy. Read the rules for each, create multiple pins, okay? I can't stress that enough, is to create multiple pins for each of those. And you can decide how many that's going to be every single month for your group boards, and how many is that going to be every single month for your Tailwind tribes when you are engaged in your Tailwind tribes. If you can't find a Tailwind tribe, then create your own tribe. And you could certainly invite people into your tribe, let people know about it, and say, hey, if you're in this niche area, would you like to join my tribe? And there's a way that you can send them the URL link to your tribe, and then you can get them in immediately. You can do that with people in our e-commerce group. So if you are in the Pinterest for e-commerce course and you've created a new tribe and it's on a certain topic area or niche area, there's probably other people in there that they might have products or services or something that lines up with that's similar. And they would be more than happy to join your tribe. They would be thrilled by that. So for me, with one part of my business, I have a lot of music related stuff, and it can be very difficult for me to find people who are willing to join a tribe about a certain niche area of music, not just music in general, but like a certain niche area of it. So I may have to just create a Tailwind tribe that is a more general type of stuff for music, not quite so tightly niched down, because I'll get a lot more people sharing a variety of stuff, and then you can pin out the stuff that you want and leave the stuff alone that you don't want. Maybe somebody else wants that if it doesn't work in your niche down boards. So that could be something. If you're having a hard time finding tribes, you could create your own tribe, but take that niche area and make it a little bit more general. And then from there, you can only pin out the pins that will work for you and your boards that are kind of niche down pins. And then you can share yours in too, and someone else will share yours also. Now, here's another concept to think about in your overall strategy is with Tailwind Tribes, and if you get invited into some really awesome group boards, you can then take, think about this. The people who are in the Tailwind Tribes are more serious Pinterest users. These are people who are creating some awesome content that tends to go viral. All right. So that's why I like this. It's like you're hanging out with the people who know what they're doing. All right. With the group boards, you're hanging out with other Pinterest users that don't have a clue about how Pinterest works. But with Tailwind, that really kind of helps to focus that a little bit, where you're hanging out with people who are more serious about this. They really are using this as a business, and they are going to comply with the rules better. They're going to develop pins that are the long pins that are awesome looking and have better content to share. Okay, so with that strategy, they are people who are more likely going to be influencers on Pinterest as well, meaning that they probably have group boards, awesome group boards that they belong to. So if you get into those tribes with awesome influencers and you put your pins into that tribe, guess what they might do? They may pin your pins into their boards, and that could include their group boards. So think of the influence and think of how far your pin could go. I think there's a further reach with Tailwind Tribes than what there is with group boards in general, but it would be a double whammy if you use a Tailwind Tribe and then somebody pins that out into your group boards. You could do the same. If you have a group board and you see someone else's pin in a Tailwind Tribe, you could pin that actually into your group board. And that could be some awesome stuff. It doesn't always have to be your exact pin. That's the type of thing that Pinterest is it's more of a community and of working together. And sometimes that can be difficult with as fast as the growth that Pinterest has to really zero in on the high quality people, the people that are not trying to game the system. They're not trying to find a shortcut. Okay, these are people who understand that Pinterest is a long game. It is not a short-term solution. Nothing in marketing is a short-term solution. Nothing at all that is worth doing is going to happen overnight. Okay, it's going to happen slowly over time, but there are things, strategies that you can put into place to help speed that up a little bit, to give you more leverage and to be more effective. So once you discover your strategies that are working well for you, now you put your time and effort into that, because this is the 20% of your business that is giving you 80% of the results. That's where you need to put your time. Okay. All right, let's get some questions answered. Comments, but these are strategies that you need to sit down, think through for yourself, and create some of your own. And if you want to share your strategies, definitely do that, because it could be an awesome strategy that no one else might have thought of. It's like, yeah, I think I want to, let's test out that strategy. Let's see how that strategy works. Okay, the question here from Nancy is, where can I find the rules of a group board? You got to go on to Pinterest and look in the board description. They should have the rules for the group board in the board description. However, I have found a lot of group boards that don't have any rules at all in the board description. And then I have to think about that board and really look at it. What does the stuff look like inside of that board? Is it very good stuff? If the pins are not long pins, they don't look like high quality stuff, then I don't know that I really want to be a part of that group board. They don't really understand higher level strategy of using Pinterest. And I kind of want to hang out only with the people who do. Okay, so I don't want to just join a group board for the sake of it and think, oh, wow, look at this. This is wonderful. It could actually not be beneficial. It might be better for you to just do your own boards and wait until you get invited into one that is a really good, high quality group board. That one is worth keeping. So not all group boards are created equal. If you don't see any kind of rules in the description of that group board, then that could be a red flag. You might want to look at it closer, but it should be in the board description is where you see the rules of the group board. Okay. Okay, this is a great question here. I understand the need to pin early for an event, like pin 2 to 3 months before Father's Day. What time frame is appropriate to stop pinning for an event? Oh, probably by the time you reach the season or the event. So I would probably stop pinning like the week of, and I would start moving direction to the next season and kind of get a head start. So for example, if Christmas lands on a Thursday, by Monday, I'm wrapping up the whole pinning Christmas stuff, and I'm going to start by that Monday, or maybe even the week before. So 1 to 2 weeks probably before the actual event happens is when I stop pinning. And instead, I start pinning towards the next event because I want to get a head start. And those pins are fresh going into those boards, and it will rank those boards up a little higher for me and kind of give me a boost. So for example, the week before Christmas, I want to start pinning stuff about fitness, about setting goals, about, it could be weight loss. Those are things that people do in January as they're setting their New Year's resolution. Organization. A lot of people like to organize stuff in January and February in their homes. And so that's the stuff that you want to focus on at that point and just ramp that up about a week before the actual event happens, so that you're really ahead of the game and you're moving in a different direction. So stopping pinning probably about a week before the event happens, maybe 2 weeks. It just depends on the type of season or event that it is. If it's a big event like Christmas, and people generally stop buying for Christmas the week of Christmas, by that time they're wrapping it down, and any fresh new pins that you put out there isn't necessarily going to help them to buy your stuff. Really what they take action on is the pins that have been hanging out for a long time. The ones that they've saved into their boards, that's the ones that they're going to take action on at that point. So I would probably stop and change directions real fast about the week of the event so that you could get a head start with that. And those pins will be floating around, and after Christmas, they'll see those pins floating around and they'll start taking action on that and changing direction. So I'd say about a week before or the week of the event is when you want to stop and change course, do something different there. Okay, can you talk a little about Pinterest ads? Oh boy, that's opening up a big can of worms. That's a lot to talk about. If you're in the course, you can join us there to learn about the ads. Today, it's more about the strategy. And I'm going to say this because I know that everyone focuses on paying for ads. Okay, I'll say from experience that you can't throw money at something and think that money is going to fix it, because it won't. It might put you in worse shape than what you were before. So throwing money at something is not always to fix something that is broken. It's not the only solution, and it may not be the best solution. If you don't build your foundation base and understand how Pinterest works. You've got everything set up. You've got a business profile. You've got analytics going. It doesn't do you any good to do Pinterest ads. So in order for you to even run a Pinterest ad, you need to make sure that you do have a business account on Pinterest. It will not work for a personal account. You need that information for analytics too as well, because you need to see in your ads what's working and what's not working, okay? And what I would say about Pinterest ads is that you need to focus on the traffic ads and do not use the default of what Pinterest says for how much money to spend on your pin, your promoted pin. Okay, there's a way that you can calculate that out to decide around how much to spend to start with, and then you can go a little bit higher once you see that pin really take off and get some good CTRs, click-through rates. Then you can increase at that point the spending on that pin. But you want to be conservative. If you go too low, you're not giving Pinterest enough room to work. Going too high, maybe overdoing it, and you don't need to. And you're basically wasting money. With that being said, the best way to use Pinterest is organically. You need to develop the long-term strategy, which is going to be about at least 80% organic traffic. You can get some good results from running Pinterest ads, but you have to be careful about how you're targeting, what you're doing with it, and how much you're spending. There's more details about exactly how to do that in the course, and I would love to maybe develop another little mini course that dives into that even deeper yet for those that want more higher level strategy of running ads. But the only reason why I hesitate with this, I understand that everyone has a lot of emphasis on ads, but I want to encourage you to have emphasis on using Pinterest in an organic way by doing the strategies that I just talked about today. If you just do those strategies that I just showed you, you're going to see results. You will see traffic, and that traffic is free. All right. If you do a promoted pin, that is one pin. And really, you need to promote different kinds of pins. So what you could do as part of your strategy, if you're developing a strategy for Pinterest ads, is you adopt the similar idea of your strategy for using Pinterest organically, which you could say, okay, every month I'm going to create 5 pins for my #1 best-selling product, and just really put your focus there. See if you can increase the sales on that. The best product that's already selling well for you, focus on that. I create my 5 different looking pins. Now I'm going to run a Pinterest ad on each one of those pins to see if I can't give it a further reach, a bigger reach. That's how you could use the Pinterest ads, but you need to put it in some kind of a strategy. You don't want to go willy-nilly on it. You know, you don't want to say, I don't know, just whatever. And then what I hear is people are racking up a lot of money and they're spending enormous amounts of money on the ads and they don't get a sale because they have no plan. So you need a plan for and a strategy for your Pinterest ads or your sponsored pins. But even more so, you need an overall strategy for your entire Pinterest marketing plan. So Pinterest ads, or promoted pins is what they're called, is only one little tiny piece of the big puzzle. So definitely think bigger. If all you're thinking about is Pinterest ads, it's not going to serve you well. People are going to look at your profile. If it's not in good shape, if you don't have other things happening on a consistent basis, then it may not really work for you. You got to have the other things in place first. You got to build your foundation first. And I would encourage that before you start throwing money at Pinterest. Okay. So throwing money at stuff is not always the best way or the best solution. Now, what really helped me really think about that was a book that Damon Johns wrote, and I read it last year. Phenomenal book, and I encourage everybody to read it. This book is by Damon Johns. He's one of the people on Shark Tank, an entrepreneur on Shark Tank. And I love watching Shark Tank. I love watching the show. There's things that I learned from that by watching it. And it's just, it's entertainment that to me, I'm actually learning something, which that's learning for me is entertainment. That's how I relax, which is kind of weird. But if I learn something, that's my fun time. So with Damon Johns, he wrote a book called The Power of Broke. It is very, very powerful. I would read that book. And I didn't really, I'll admit that I didn't have a lot of high hopes for the book when I began reading it. I kind of thought, oh, well, he's now big time. He's made it big. He's got the power to write any book he wants, anything that he wants. He's got his name behind it, and he's got Shark Tank behind it. And he can just throw anything out there and sell 1 million copies. Okay. It doesn't have to have anything of quality content in his book. But right away at the very beginning of his book, in the introduction, he knew that. He said that, he admitted that, and he says, I did not want to, he was asked to write a book. He says, I did not want to just throw out any kind of book and put his name on it. He wanted something of value, something that people could use, something that he sees in lots of people's businesses happen as a problem over and over again. And the number one problem that businesses have that causes them to fail is whenever something's broke, they throw money at it. And then they become more broke. And then it's just a vicious cycle. So check out that book so that you can think of it differently. It's not always throwing money at something. Okay. So that'll encourage you by hearing his story of how he came from nothing. He came from nothing, and look at where he's at today. The only way that he was able to do that was to understand the concept of you can't always throw money at something, whether you have the money or not, and be able to get past those obstacles and those challenges and to persevere. That's how he did it. He had to build a business with no money. So it forced him to rethink everything along the way of what he was doing. So I encourage you to read that. It's a good one, called The Power of Broke by Damon Johns. Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, I heard that he has a new one out called Rise and Grind. That one I'll have to put right down on my book list of reading that one or listening to it. I listen to a lot of books too instead of reading because I can do other stuff while I'm listening. That one sounds good too. So what he's been putting out there for books has been really good quality stuff, not just kind of fluffy stuff where it doesn't give you some things that are actionable or different, something that challenges your mindset. But he's been putting out some really good quality stuff. And there's also, there's many, many great authors out there. Some put out fluffy stuff, and then some put out some really great things that challenges the way that you're thinking. Those are the ones you want to pay attention to, because we need our minds challenged. We need our mindsets challenged on a regular basis. If something isn't working for you, you need to change directions quickly, and you need to think of it differently, and you need to try something differently. And if you're not sure what that is, then you need to, pay attention to people who have already been there, who have already done that, and they're doing things successfully. And listen to what they have to say, because they've made those same mistakes, and they're basically your mentor. And that's what's great about books, is that it's like having that person as your mentor. When you wouldn't be able to be able to talk to them in person or face to face, they're now your mentor through what they're trying to share to help people through their books or resources or courses. Taking courses is awesome. That learning is very, very powerful. All right, so that is all about strategies today. I don't see any other questions, so I think we'll wrap it up for now. And hopefully you're able to get something out of this. Definitely sit down sometime in the near future and with a piece of paper or your computer, get out an Excel spreadsheet, whatever it is that you need to use on what works best for you to help you think. Write out your strategies. What is your Pinterest strategy? And your Pinterest strategy is going to have several different parts to it. You're going to have a strategy for your pins, a strategy for maybe your pin descriptions, a strategy for your group boards, a strategies for your tribes. And think about, is it more important for me to promote a ton of different products and only have one pin, or really focus in on the products that are your best sellers first and ramp that up? Really ramp it up with multiple pins. That I think might serve you even better. You're going to get more for your time and effort if you start there first. That's your starting point. Okay. All right. Let's wrap it up. Have a great rest of your day. Have an awesome weekend, and we'll be talking.